Hey there, it's Chris, and welcome back to the next part of the Bang Shishigami project, where, if you remember last time, we started actually making some forward progress. And we got a boot going. Or, I guess it's quasi-boot. It's, I'm not sure what to call it when the front part is detached from the heel, is detached from the shin guard, is detached. We're just going to call it a boot. We got that. We put the little medallion detail on the back, and after I turned the camera off last time, I just kind of smoothed it out just a little bit, just to kind of make that good and done. Like I said, there's some things I can do with my nearsightedness that I can't quite do on camera, and just kind of smoothing things out is kind of one of those things. So before I get into today, just to give you a heads up, if you think this is going slow at this point, because I've been kind of laboring over individual parts forever, it feels like, if you're working, say, in a standard 40-hour work week, this is what one day's worth that winds up being. Again, I believe we are 8 parts in, so this is one work day got to this point. So we're getting there. I think the slow stuff up here is done, and we're finally starting to get somewhere. That said, this time we have really 2 parts I want to get on, and then if they're done soon, we can start bulking out the other foot, or forming the other foot and then bulking it. But we have these knee guards I need to pop on here, and then he has the medallions again, the details on both sides of the bottom of the inside of the shin guard there. I get those on. This may not look like much, it might be as subtle as the back is on this one, which is fine for right now. Once that gets painted up, that's gonna glow. It's gonna look so good. So, but first I wanted to kind of get these knee things, the knee protectors done, and for that, if we look at the image right on the side here, it just looks like it's actually the other side. It looks like just kind of like a piece of steel that's just kind of folded over into kind of a little bit of a clamshell. But let me go move you back to where you usually go. Haha, you're behind the camera again. But if we go into the profile view, and if you actually look at it from this one, I'm sorry I didn't blow it up beforehand, but if you actually look at the knee guard in the middle, it's actually more of a solid piece. It's not just a shell. The inside of it also comes in. So it functions more like a solid piece than just a piece like this that gets wrapped around and up and in. So we're going to go to that. Let's see, does this image show any better? This image, let me click out of the way and turn, sorry. All right, got to get my computer stuff done before I go in. This one also, yeah, if you look at it, you can kind of see that, yeah, there's a little more than just a solid piece that goes in. That said, although I don't have my own scaling computer here, I did go off my screen upstairs. So this, again, that knee piece there is roughly the size from here down to the bottom, is there to the top of the points. And then the points are about, it goes halfway as solid, and then the points go the other half. So I'm looking at something about this big. So this thing comes up a ways. Again, if you're familiar with any of the BlazBlue characters, there's generally nothing subtle about their designs. Basically, every one of their, or I'm going to say not every, but most of the character designs, probably all of them from the original series, at least, and as they go on, it might be a little more, a little less. But they all tend to have at least one oversized characteristic to it. Like one of them may have a gigantic belt that they're wearing. Somebody may have gigantic shoes that they have. Somebody may have a gigantic buckle that comes down across them. One may have like a gigantic ribbon kind of on their... Look like Rachel has like a gigantic ribbon on their person. Some may have like a gigantic... You look at... We come back to Bang. Bang has that gigantic nail on his back. It's like every character has some kind of gigantic thing that goes with them and kind of highlights what they are. So when it comes to details like this, you're going to have a knee guard, and in this series, we're going to make it larger than life. And that's just kind of the way this series seems to operate. So subtle is not something that comes up very often on this. So we're going to come down, we're going to do this knee thing first, and then come back at the end and try to get more of the detail-y part. But as I had said from the start, I want to have, on any given session, I want to have something that looks complete done. And I feel like after like the first 3 or 4 sessions, once we got into like the core muscle group, I kind of lost that because I had a lot of learning of my own to do at that point, and it just, things didn't work out quite as well as I hoped they would. I think in the end I got it to work, but it was a process to make that work. Alright, all I'm doing right now is just kind of cutting a little V so I have less stuff I need to mold up and in later on. Less stuff I need to cut out, so as long as I can get something kind of in here. Now that is a knee guard right there. Okay, so it comes up to about here, and I'm actually going to want to bring this back just, I want to bring the camera down just a little bit so you can maybe see what I'm trying to accomplish. Might help. Oh, my stomach is growling. I literally just had dinner. Stomach, be good. We just ate. I don't need any more. Alright, let's just get some of this excess off. We don't need all of this fluff. So yes, I'm going to be starting this as if it's this kind of hollow piece, but it's not going to stay this way. Okay, and what do we want? We want to come kind of from, let's figure about there. We about halfway through? Maybe not even halfway. Yeah, it comes out and then kind of in. So if we can do this, and as long as I get one side in, I can just kind of copy it to the other side. So I have that. Between putting things up, down, this camera is going to be a thing this session. I apologize for that. But sometimes that just happens. Now, if I recall, we're going to start there and come around. Oh, putting gray on top of gray. That looks so good. I can barely see it on the screen. Although, again, the preview screen I'm looking at this is, the entirety of the screen is like 2 inches by 4 inches. So I figure a third of that, or a quarter of that, is covered up by the side image. So really my preview is like 2 inches by 3 inches big. So I can't see everything that goes on, but from what I do see, gray on gray is awesome in terms of trying to visualize this stuff. But if we start out there, you come up, okay. However, we need you to pop out, maybe get a little bit bigger, because it needs to kind of pop. Alright, so we're going to fold you in half just to get a fold in there. And then it comes back. So we have it kind of coming out. It's like origami with clay. This might work, it might not. There are times like this where I'm kind of just making it up as I go. So as much as I want to sound like I'm an expert at this thing, bear in mind, there are a lot of instances where I just 100% make things up as I go along. Also, we do want you to be a little bit wider, so you can wrap around here just a little bit better. And ultimately you're going to come out a little bit and then back in. So how do we do this? So what I might want to do is just kind of actually 3D make something here to kind of throw behind it, and then maybe smooth it out afterwards, which would help if I actually make you kind of evenly smooth throughout and not put all of the weight of this thing at the bottom of it. I need the top to be just as thick as the bottom, and then we can carve it from there. Okay, so if I do something like that, smooth that out, so it looks like this was all done with one piece, and not the way I had done it. We might be in some kind of shape. So I can just then take this, carve it down, and we in there. Let's see, we're what, like 10 minutes into this? So I can almost guarantee nobody is actually watching this part. Oh, the problem with starting your own channel and finally looking things up and we're getting views and all that, and like I said, this is all new to me. Like, you get stuck on the analytics side, and you're like, oh, people are watching for this X amount of time, and this is happening, people are watching at this time of day. I have X number of people are, like, on average watching so many minutes. They're watching from point A to point B in time, and they kind of skip ahead and watch to this other point in time, and you kind of get lost in some. It's fun going through some of the details. It's like one of those. It's a new shiny thing, so I'm like really interested in it, and they come within a short amount of time. It's gonna be like, all right, whatever, I don't care anymore. But for right now, this is like this whole new shiny thing. Like, ooh, wow, let's see how this actually works. So I'm having a little too much fun with the analytics section, and based on that, I can say that approximately very few people are actually listening to what I'm saying right now. Most people are probably going to click in the first part, kind of see where it starts, go to the end, kind of see where this ends, and if they like what they see or they're curious how something happens, then they might come back in the middle and actually watch some of the middle stuff. But yeah, it makes trying to do any kind of speech I want to give, which are, I think I've already given the big ones I wanted to. I believe episode 6 was like the only kind of big one I had on my head. I kind of wanted to give at some point. The whole how do you work with things in like multiple different genres? How do you go from like one project to a different when they're whether it's like academics, whether it was sports, whether it was art, whether it's like whatever. How do you jump from one to, I think that was kind of the only speech thing I kind of had a not pre-prepared, but it was kind of somewhat in my head. All these others from here on out, I'm just kind of winging it, as you can probably tell, because I haven't really thought that far ahead. Okay, so top, excuse me, top is good. Bottom I actually didn't have to do that to. So we actually do want to carve you back down to nothing again, down on the bottom, because we need that to kind of tuck in below this. But I do want the top to be as thick as it is. So we kind of did need to do that just to kind of gradually build up the thickness on this, so that it would read as something that's bigger. Now that doesn't look at all correct. I believe the puffy pants are going to be shooting it out just a little bit in front, so we're actually going to wind up, I'm going to say something, although let me go back to, click button, back on the back here. If his leg is outright, the pant's going to be coming down the bottom, so we're actually going to be relatively tight up top, and then it gets looser on the bottom. So this might be not too bad up here. I mean, it's bubbling out. It looks terrible. But again, that's how we start with this, and then we get better. So we want it to do that in the beginning. So let's say you come off. I need this to come down more on that side. So I've been focusing on this side. And I think I'm just going to go with this. I can always add more or subtract more. I can add more to it or subtract more from it as this goes. But we're just going to start with this. Again, in the end, we're going to get to where I want to get to. It may be a rocky travel or a rocky path getting there, but we will get to the points I want to get to. So we will keep that in mind, keeping expectations in mind for that. But yeah, if anybody remembers my studio process back in like the architecture days, at least back in like when I was back in school for the architecture, yeah, any kind of design work such as this, progression is not linear. It will come in fits and starts. Things will work, things will not work. You'll try stuff, you'll take it back out. Things will look really rough, and all of a sudden, by the time you get to the conclusion, it works. There's a little bit of that goes in my day job, a little less so in my day job now. Construction, we're kind of a little more organized on what we're doing. Sometimes it looks like kind of chaos, but clients are always well aware of what's going on. We know what's going on. We try to keep things at least organized. Just the way things work on TV is not correct. TV, you have like a client goes away, your builder comes in and says, "Oh, we're going to do this X, Y, and Z over the next course of the next week. You can go on vacation. See, you have it all done when you get back." And that's not how life works. I don't think I've had a single client yet who's basically said, "Yeah, whatever, do what you want. We trust you." I want no part of this. It's like, no. Every client wants to have a say in things. They're involved in the whole process. So, being as they are involved in the process, we try to keep things neat and orderly too, so that it gives them a better chance to, if they have questions or concerns or what's going on, they can, no matter where we're at, things are readily understood to know to be where things are, and thus they can actually make calls on whether they want to change something, they want to adapt things, they have an idea of what they want to have happen that might be different from ours, and we can have that back and forth. It's hard to have a back and forth if you do things kind of fit in like fits and starts. So I know in stuff like this, I'm kind of doing things in fits and starts, or at least progress is made in fits and starts. But at the same time, I am trying to organize as best I can each individual session, so it's readily understood what's going on. But yeah, no, that it happens. Okay, so I'm liking the bottom part of this. We're not doing too bad. I think you need a little bit more. Whoop. I think we need a little more on the bottom. This gap is gonna need to get a little bit tighter as it goes. But we need a little bit more down here. This is where I like clay over trying to carve stuff. Like I said, I've tried the carving, but this feels nice. If something's wrong, we can always just add a little bit, take a little bit off. There's always playroom that we can do on it. Carving takes away a little bit of that safety net. And again, if I want to do this as, I always call them extracurricular. I know extracurricular officially refers to stuff after school, after your curriculum in school. And that terminology hasn't changed, even though I've been out of school for literally half my life. I still use that to describe kind of what this situation is, but okay. Now it may look thicker on the inside, it's not thicker on the outside there. So I am going to keep a little bit of thickness here, because again, we're going to be putting the pants and stuff kind of coming out, so I want to have the pants have something they can dead end into. So I don't want to go super thin down on this part, but we can come in a little bit. Now, all of this middle is going to be fixed. Right now I'm working on the outer edge, then I'll add more to the middle here. But let's get one thing at a time. Okay, so what do we have on this? We want you to kind of come in, wrap that around. I do have this side going a little bit higher than the other side. Let's get you off. All of a sudden, I'm going to have like every one of my preview windows is going to look like this. I'm like, well, I guess my auto-generated preview with or thumbnail I'm going to have for this session is going to look like that. Awesome. But okay, maybe we should probably put you back. Come on, find the hole. Back in there. And now we need to add to the middle here because the middle is, I believe the word is wrong. Okay, don't know where that came from. And actually, this might have been easier just making this entirely filled and just cutting out what I don't need afterwards. So, you know what? I think I might just make the entire thing filled, and then I'm going to cut this out after. This is probably the way it should have been done, because that will give us what we want. This is also why the second shoe slash boot slash anything I always do, second foot and kind of calf area on every single project goes faster than the first. Because the first I always seem to do something the long slash, not really wrong way, but it's definitely kind of a longer method to go around. You learn from it, you hope, and then you come back and do it faster the second time, because now you know what kind of works and what doesn't work. So when we get to the next one, hopefully this will all be good and figured out. Okay, so we still want this to read like it's, nope, 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 don't pick you out of there. You stay. Need that to stay. Okay. So we want to be a little more rounded on top. Right now it's dead flat up there, which isn't bad. It's going to come in a little bit anyway. But let's just give a little more rounded. I would rather actually be able to carve this part back if I need to, rather than sculpt it back if I need to. Because if we're going to be cutting it down into a smaller section makes it more kind of delicate, I think would be the word that I'm kind of looking for. And when it's delicate and you're trying to add stuff to it, you can make things worse very easily. So for something like that, okay, I think we're getting in or about where I want to be. Smoothing off the top, smoothing off the top. And now this is going to come down to there. So we're slicing all of that. And it really only opens just a little bit. It's not that big a slice. Now the only trick with doing this is popping that out. Okay, and now with that, we now have kind of that 3D look in here that we wanted, which is good. Now I can kind of smooth this stuff out, smooth that over. It kind of gives the look I'm looking for. And with that, we just want to take this little sliver. Nope. Get out. Ah. Don't want to go. Okay. That's fine. So that came out. And we're going to repoint Okay. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We just took our step back. So I want to remake that point. All I wanted was I didn't want it necessarily right up against the edge. I wanted to kind of come out a little bit. And this is where I'm worried about things being more delicate when trying to deal with. So, okay, so we do that. We're good there. We're good here. Nope, we're not good there. We're not good there. Okay, so that comes out a little bit. I have you down here. That's all smooth. That's all good. Do I even need to cut it at all, or can I just do that? And that pulls it out a little bit. Kind of got the same thing done without doing all of the negative work. So that's good. Okay, so now that it can separate, now we can lightly pack some of this stuff in. Smooth it out as best we can. Again, I'm going to do, like before, I'm going to do some of this smoothing off camera. I just want to get this started because I'm going to add more details to this, which is going to make smoothing a little harder later on. So just kind of to help myself off camera, I'm going to get a little bit of this smoothing done right now because this gets, let's see, wrong one. Where are we? Hey, there we go. Because this has a little bit of, actually it's not that much of a detail from what I can tell. It mostly just kind of comes, a V comes up from the bottom and goes up the top, and that seems to be about it somehow. Kind of an odd little detail, but that's how this one works. So a little bit of a V there, and as is usual when I have something like that, we're going to carve just a little bit of this out of the way so that that will be able to read a little better. Okay. All right, we got that off. Let's go and smooth you out just a little. Smooth this out just a little. And now if you're looking at this thing, he looks like he has a gigantic leg compared to the rest of everything. This actually is pretty dang close to what it's supposed to be. Is just the rest of the body seems skinnier until we put, say, the pants on here. It's going to make the rest of the legs look bigger. Once we put the jacket on here, it's going to make the top look bigger. So right now the leg feels huge compared to everything else. This will come back into scale eventually as we get each other element in there. So that's part of the deception of doing these feet, is that always happens. It always looks like it's so ridiculously big, and then all of a sudden, bam, it just kind of works. You get to a certain amount of detail gets popped on here that also you realize, oh wait, that actually works. Awesome. So it takes some time to get there, but it does get there in the end. Okay, we're just gonna pull you out. And there we go. He has a knee guard. He has a big knee guard, it looks like, but he has the knee guard. So now we're gonna do part 2, and this is gonna take up the rest of the session. What time? Okay, we're a half hour in. So this will 100% take up the rest of this time, but we need to make the other little kind of pieces here. So what am I set to? I'm set to 5. I think I had that before for the back one. It wound up being too thick. So we are down to a 4. And the reason I'm saying it's a 4, it means nothing to you. But by the time I get to the other foot, I have stuff here which is this goes from a 7 to a 2. I believe that's probably millimeters thick. So this is a 7. I think something down here was a 6. The back here is a 4. This is going to be a 4. I'm labeling them out not for your benefit, so that before I come back and do the other leg, I can remind myself what I did. I figure if I'm using the medium of doing this on video, I might as well use it. I might as well use it to my advantage. Okay, so how big does this thing need to be? So if I'm on here, it goes up about half-ish way. So we're probably talking from bottom to top. It's got to be about, yeah, about that. You know what? I never did bring my straight edge out here to make straight cuts. Not that it's super important for this, but there will be a time when it's going to be super nice to be able to do straight cuts. Okay, so width-wise is not very wide. So I'm just going to do that and that. And that will give us a blank. Sorry. That will give us a blank to do the 2 sides on. So there is a lot of detail going into this detail. Alright, remember when I drew that nice little happy face back in like session 6? Well, I can assure you I can draw stuff, and we're going to go ahead and try to demonstrate that I do know what I'm doing when it comes to drawing things out. That comes down to here. You zig, zig, zig. And you can't see any of that. I can barely see any of that. Good. But I can assure you that is, oh boy, that's, I didn't mean to push this thing into the ground. That's not the master plan. Okay, this is going to be a super delicate kind of piece. Ah, get off my finger! Get off my finger! Okay, we need to round off this bottom. Am I on camera? Yeah, my finger's covering the whole camera. Whoop, whoop, I turned you around. Oh, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. I lie. I'm a bad liar. I'm a bad guy. Okay, so you come, we zig here, zig there, and zig to the end. And this is a little bigger than we need, but I think I can shrink this thing as we get it on here. Because right now, okay, we are kind of gigantic on this. So yeah. Which is fine. I would rather be too big right now than too small. At least for my job when we're cutting stuff, it's one of those, yeah, I'd rather do things too big than too small. Like I said, I just did a fairly large deck with good synthetic boards, which was nice to find out like halfway through cutting this stuff. Boss comes in and goes, "Oh, just so you know, these are like $150 a piece per board." I was like, "Oh, awesome. We're not gonna mess these things up. We're gonna do the whole measure twice, cut once. We might be cutting multiple times and start out a little big and shrink them as they go, because I don't want to have to deal with not getting that correct." When you have $7 per foot per board, it's like, Okay. Do it right. Don't mess this up. So that's going to be the same with here. If we can start a little big, we can always shrink you. We can always add to as well, but I feel like shrinking is still the easier option of them as need be. Okay, how are we doing on that? I'm still feeling kind of big because his whole thing occurs kind of within. If we take a line from the point down here up, it should all kind of fit within that. So we're getting close. So let us go around, cut that out of the way. That said, that project should hopefully be done very soon. That's one of those we had a very hard deadline for, because there's an event they have going on in a couple weeks that they really, really want to have this thing ready for. So we don't often get the hard deadlines on our projects, but this one did have it. There we go. That's not too bad. It goes up a teeny bit higher than it does in the image, but I think it works. So are we going to attach this yet? No. No, no, no. Because why attach it right now when we can trace it and do the exact same thing on the... Let go. Let go. Ah. You can do the same thing on the other side. You know, usually this is not the time of year we get hard deadlines, so this is kind of an unusual one. Usually if we do get a hard deadline, it's like in November, December for the holidays. Somebody wants something done for Thanksgiving. Somebody wants something done for Christmas. Those are kind of the ones we'll usually get our hard deadlines for. June does not usually come into that mix. So, but we will hit it. The whole thing looks good. Just have a couple little things to go, and I believe we're done next week. So that will make everybody happy. All right. Almost there, almost there, almost there. Oh my. What I have this camera mounted to is blocking the way I can cut things with this. Okay, hardest part. Now that we have two, we need to separate it back into two separate pieces again. Yes, okay. So invariably, whenever we do that, something sticks to it. It gets a little awkward. We're going to be fixing stuff, but we can fix things. Wow, that does not look good. All right, well, we are definitely going to be fixing some things on this. But we have ourselves the starting point. We're going to have an image on that side, and we're going to have ourselves a reverse image on the... Wow, yeah, these are definitely things that are going to be fixed. We're going to have the reverse image on the other side. So where are we on time? Okay, I got about 20 more minutes. Let's see what we can do in 20 minutes to fix this. So this top point going out, I like the top point here. That part's good. We need you to go out a little more that way so that you can come up. I do have this comes in just a little, and then we want to make kind of a rounded bottom. And as we get to a rounded bottom, we also need this to kind of round in a little bit over there. So this actually has an extra zag right down there. Okay, I'm not sure you can even see what I'm doing, but we're kind of giving this really weird kind of musical note kind of look to it, kind of like a busted musical note kind of look. But yeah, details like this, I'm not going to know how visual this is until after this session is done. So if you can't see anything on this, just because it is a gray on gray kind of look, I apologize for that, but it does have to be done. So it just kind of is. Okay, and now, more importantly, has a 3D, it's a beveled kind of look. So we want to give it a little bit of a bevel with this. Back of the brush here is great for doing these kind of bevelly things. Although as we start getting into smaller pieces like this, it may or may not work very well, but the back of it does tend to do a fairly decent job of getting started at that. Okay, so the zigzag part is fine. Now this scroll actually does a heck of a lot of scrolling. And where do we start? So we start with this coming in, it comes down and up. Ooh, this is not easy for me to see from as far away from my face as this is. I'm not gonna lie, this is where me and my glasses don't really help. My glasses are great for distance stuff, they're great for reading stuff, they're great for anything. It's just these kind of real, kind of detail-y, up-close things. It's kind of like where it starts to have a little bit of an issue. But again, we're not too bad. As long as we can make this read like a little bit of a spiral going on. That's essentially what I'm going for. If we get this to read like a spiral, which I think we're close to, I just need this to come together into one. And that is the one design on the one side. And now we need this to kind of look the same, and that went by remarkably fast compared to what my expectation was. So problem is we need the other side to kind of match it, and you kind of can, if you look from the front, you kind of can see them together. So that on one hand makes life a little easier because I have something I can directly go off of. On the other hand, you can instantly see if something is different and doesn't go well. So it's having this kind of situation I'm going to call a mixed bag. But we're going to do what we can to make it work. Alright, so we have... Are we kind of on camera here? Alright, so we need this part of the lightning bolt thing to come in, and then you to come back out. Yes, you're in, and then where's the... Okay, you come in down further than that. You come in down here-ish. And now this circle definitely needs to read a little better than that. I think you get a little bit bigger. Okay, so far we're not terrible. It's not 100%, but it's going. Okay, so if you're in, you zig, you come back in again a little bit. And I almost feel like we need a little bit more on our circle. Not much, but I do want to put, whoop, just a teeny bit more on this circle at the bottom here so it can read more like the circle part. Nope, wrong one. So what happens is this zig went back a little bit. That comes in, and then it did its circle thing. So we come pretty dang close actually to the edge, so I can keep you down there. That's fine. Okay, so if we have this, let's do what we did last time. Let's make the bevel on these guys. I'll be honest, I didn't actually expect to get both of these things in today. This took almost longer than I thought. These are going by a lot faster than I thought. I thought they were going to be kind of problem areas, because the back one took some time to do. And these are going by, feels like, significantly faster. All right, so we're beveling out. Okay, can we make a spiral kind of like the other one? So far, yes. Oh, we got this. We got this. Oh, we so got this. Oh, yeah. Can we zoom in? We got ourselves a spiral on here. Heck yes. So we have a detail on one side. We have detail on the other side. They just may take, and they're not too far off in the middle there. So in general, again, the front claws here I'm going to do is the very last thing kind of before hardening. I'm going to fix those guys out. I don't want to do it yet, because especially I'm taking things in and out of here. I'm going to hit those. So I just want to get everything else on this done, which we got. And that took about 10 minutes to do both of those. So, wow, awesome. That said, it is time for a foot number 2. And if I'm going to let's take you off. Okay, so foot number 2 just comes straight out. So that should be very doable. If I have, your foot is approximately something like that. So I'm going to want my metal to come out to about here. And thankfully, I didn't go very far with these guys. That foot, from that, from there to there, yeah, it's probably, I probably want to be a little bigger than that, but I don't mind, every time I keep putting my back on here, I don't mind having his back laying on that, because again, the back is going to be hidden in the end by his clothes, by and large. So I'm not, again, super concerned about certain things. That foot could be significantly bigger than that. Alright, now I don't want to be messing up. I should have done this before detailing out that foot, but I didn't. Okay, so how big are we? We're just over, as long as I'm here. Yeah, that's, I definitely don't want anything bigger than that. But that'll give us his foot on that side. And so with that, we can actually cut this off. Yeah, the problem is this doesn't like cutting from the very tip of the blade. How about we bend you out a little bit so I can get more of this in? Come on. This should be very cuttable. Oh, those things are gonna require work. Okay, now I don't want that to be on this side of you. I want you, if anything, you to be on the other side, because I kind of want this to be a little more centered. And this is backwards. This is also good because I can take the end of this kind of session, glue this down, and then next time I don't need to worry about glue sticking to my fingers and whatnot. I can get that done right now, and then it'll wipe off again after. So, perfect. I love when you're dealing with clear glue and you're like, I hope it came out. It sounded like the glue was coming out. I couldn't see anything, but it sounded like it was working. This will be good. Next time we'll kind of start the foot. Should be able to finish it the time after. And then either the time after that or not long from that point, we're going to be hardening. Because we're getting close. We're not super far away from the first hardening phase. And once we get that done, I feel a whole lot better after that point. Because this is the biggest section I do between hardenings. All the other ones will come much sooner, kind of faster with each other. Kind of any given detail that goes on can then get kind of popped in real quick. Here, none of this is hard at this point. So there's still a lot of things that can go wrong. So looking forward to actually getting to hardening on this. All right, so if you're down, if I'm going to want that sitting in there, I believe I want you up just a little bit. Let's get, yeah, that feels better. Foot is up a little bit. What are all these lines on here? He's got a little kind of Daffy Duck foot kind of going. But this will be as big as this one. It will take some time to get there, but I'm hoping that within about two more sessions, I would like to have this foot kind of done as well. And like I said, then it's going to be kind of one more time for touching up and probably hardening, maybe all in one session after that. So I'm not sure if this is going up next Saturday or next Sunday, but hopefully by kind of middle to end of the following week, we will be hardening and life will be good. And we'll get into more kind of fun stuff. Because right now it's still mostly just a blank. It's still just kind of in any person kind of thing. Once we start getting, like, say, the parachute pant things on, once we start getting into, like, the jacket, then we start actually getting into a real character. Right now, this still doesn't feel like a real character. It's in that in-between phase. It's no longer just being blocked out, which is, thank goodness, nice. But it's not enough detail to really feel like I can hang my hat on it. But we're going to get there. Let go. Let go. But let's just get a little bit of clay on here. Because we can, this is all I have left anyway, so I might as well just kind of finish that off. To an extent anyway. Actually, his whole knee here has to come up. I gave him those noodly legs were kind of whoop. It should be more. So the knee has to come up higher because his shin has to come up higher to kind of match the other side. So we're going to be changing the dimensions of this leg a little bit. Actually, that already changed it a little bit for the better, and that is good. Yeah, I know I keep kind of holding. I'm generally not holding the core. If anything, I'm kind of hitting the back, and I feel like that's fine. At this point now, I don't want to touch anything with this foot. So I'm doing everything I can in my power to avoid hitting that. Most time I'm going to be pretty successful on that one, but every now and then I might catch myself. There will be a final kind of smoothing stuff out at the end. So even if things are a little rough at the end of this session, it will smoothen out for the final kind of hardening part. But yeah, that is whoop, get in the hole. That is where we are now on the next step here of the Bang project. We're getting feet. We got one boot section in the books. Like I said, just need to kind of touch up the claw area, but otherwise got one boot section in the books. We have back ears kind of in the books. We have the chest and the core kind of in the books. Time to get foot number 2. Foot and shin area number 2. Get that done. We're going to be in a good place. So, stuff to look forward to for the next couple times. It ought to be nice. So, until then, and until next time, enjoy.